And talking about how the election outcome could impact the Russia-Ukraine war. As Kiev strives to push back against advancing Russian forces, it faces both a looming need for more military aid. Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, in fact, has called joining NATO a vital step for securing Ukraine's future. However, the US-led alliance has made it clear that it will not consider Ukrainian membership until the conflict with Russia ends. And this basically leaves Ukraine dependent on American support to maintain its defenses, especially as Russian President Vladimir Putin seeks to strengthen his hold over occupied territories and prevent Ukraine from entering the NATO. As per reports, if former President Donald Trump returns to office, many experts say this could drastically alter the war's trajectory. Trump has claimed that he could broker a peace deal within 24 hours as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned, though he has offered few details on how he will actually achieve that. As per reports, his running mate has said that this deal might involve creating a demilitarized zone along current battle lines. Reportedly, such a move could force Ukraine to relinquish several key regions under Russian control, including Crimea. In fact, analysts also warn that Trump's deal might come with a promise that Ukraine will never join the NATO. A significant blow for Kiev, of course, which views NATO membership as a shield against future Russian aggression. As per reports, Trump might even remove sanctions imposed on Russia under President Biden's administration. Meanwhile, reportedly, Putin has publicly welcomed Trump's proposals, indicating a likely alignment of interests. Trump has also voiced skepticism about the ongoing U.S. military support for Ukraine, reportedly stating that funding the war does little for American interests. And if this stance leads to a halt or significant reduction in aid, Kiev could find itself struggling to maintain its position on the battlefield, with critical U.S. military aid drying up. The thing is, already, delays in a $60 billion aid package to Ukraine have ended up weakening its defenses, according to some analysts. On the other hand, a potential Kamala Harris presidency would likely follow a different path. Harris, remember, has advocated for increased Western military support for Ukraine and has emphasized on the risks of a Russian victory in Europe, reportedly warning that if Moscow takes Kiev, it could set its sights on further expansion. Reports say under Harris, Kiev could likely expect continued and perhaps increased financial and military support from Washington. Harris, although, has reportedly showed willingness to explore both diplomatic and military solutions in order to accelerate the conflict's end. And as the Americans vote, the impact on the Russia-Ukraine war could be profound. The future of Ukraine could very well depend on the outcome of this election. And joining us on the broadcast this minute is Glenn Diesen, Professor of International Relations at the University of Southeastern Norway and an editor at the Russia in Global Affairs Journal. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast. Let me begin by asking you, can Trump actually end the war like he has promised and striking a deal within 24 hours? Is that really realistic?
Well, I doubt the 24-hour limit, but I do think he can end the war, given that he has huge leverage in both ways, because with the Ukrainians, the war has effectively already been lost. It doesn't really matter how much weapons they send now. The key problem is manpower. So they can withdraw a lot of weapons to Ukraine if they do not accept his peace deal or his terms, that is Trump's term. On the Russian side, it depends, because for them, they have some very strict demands. First of all, they don't want any more NATO expansion. Given that Trump has in the past shown very little enthusiasm for NATO and also hinted that he's willing to take a NATO expansion off the table, I think it's quite possible. And he also very much expressed the interest in not pushing China and Russia together, which is also known as Kissinger's worst nightmare. And if you don't want to do this, the worst thing you can do is pretty much expand NATO, because this is considered to be the greatest security threat to the Russian Federation. So he has what he needs to offer the Russians, and he has enough to pressure the Ukrainians. So it is possible. But again, Trump is a bit of a wild card, so it's unclear what it's going to do.
And what about Harris? What would a Harris presidency mean for the Ukraine war?
Well, I think she's. I think it's going to be much of a continuity of Biden. Again, she's the incumbent, and I wouldn't expect too many changes. On the other hand, I guess the counter argument would be that Biden has really been at the center of this war ever since 2014. Him and his family has had a very key central role, also in the escalation in 2021. So as the war now is very obvious to everyone been lost, Harris could possibly want to start her presidency by not putting her stamp on it, by already trying to distance herself, not necessarily sell out the Ukrainians, but at least begin a diplomatic path, or just to go from a war to guerrilla warfare, because I think the US still wants to bleed Russia using Ukraine. But that being said, it's quite possible that she would also take a different path. But I do think that she would also have to adjust to current realities, which is that, the war is being lost and there's not much they can do anymore to turn this around.
We're leaving it there for the moment, Glenn Deason. Thanks very much for being here. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.